Something else interesting that came out recently. So, Block Club Chicago, they have a website where they release news articles about their investigative findings sometimes. And they've uncovered that the Chicago Police Department is actually pulling over and giving traffic stops to thousands more Black people than they are actually reporting. Because a lot of times these stops are then categorized as something else. And so it's basically found that the sharp increase in traffic stops that have happened in Chicago are almost all happening in the Black community. In fact, they specifically provide the statistic that in 2015, I think they said the full number of traffic stops was around 85,000, whereas in 2021 it had risen. I think it was 2021 that it had risen up to about 600,000, which is obviously a dramatic upswing. Now this kind of leveled out a little bit more with the pandemic, but it's still 300,000 plus, so it's clear the people who are running Chicago have decided pulling over Black people, searching them, impounding their cars, forcing them to make bail in order to get out of jail, things of this nature, is a great way for them to stack up money and for the city to enrich itself. And they're essentially doing this off the backs of Black people. And I don't know, it's just, it's not, none of this is surprising, of course, but it's still really, really hard to read. Hudson, how did you feel about it?
Well, so what of great interest to me is that for anybody who doesn't understand, this is a law. This has been put into law. Our state legislature passed this and said these police departments have to report when they do a traffic stop and they uncover a firearm, right? Or they have to make a felony arrest or something of that nature, right? They have to report that,
Hmm.
right? So what the police are doing here in Chicago, at least, is not reporting it. So in 2021, CPD reported 388 of these traffic stops that resulted in gun arrest, right? What the independent audit is suggesting is 2,300 in 2021. That was more the number. And so you might ask, how did they come to 2,300, right? So when you look at a report, basically you look at, hey, they got charged for the gun, but what other charges did they get? And often you'll see in these cases, you see a traffic violation added on to the gun charge, which suggests to them that this all happened because of a traffic stop in the first place, right? So
Hmm.
the questions then is, why aren't they reporting it, right? And you got to think, for even for their own safety, why wouldn't it? Like if I'm a cop, don't I want to know how many guns are being are being are being found on traffic stops? Wouldn't I want to know that?
They don't want people to know that because if you report it accurately, it shows the clear disparity in how people are policed in Chicago. Like it's already a disparity even without those statistics. But when you add thousands more traffic stops and arrests, it becomes abundantly clear the Chicago police are targeting Black people almost exclusively. Like these traffic stops, I think they were saying around 85% of them are happening in the Black community. Now, look, yes, the majority of murders happening in Chicago are happening in the Black community. Does anybody really think the majority of red lights, of people running red lights, of people speeding, of people doing things illegally with their car are happening in the Black community? 85% in the city of Chicago? There's no way. There's no way. And let's be completely honest, this city is getting less and less less and less safe. Nobody feels safer now than they did 5 years ago or 10 years ago. All of us are deeply concerned about the levels of crime, which clearly shows that these upticks in arrest. that jailing all these people, that forcing them to pay bail and taking their money, it is not making us more safe because none of it is solving the underlying problems. The underlying problems are poverty and ignorance. You cannot stop that. You cannot fix that by locking people up. And that's the method, the process that we have been trying to do since the 70s. Hey, we've got a bunch of crime. We got a bunch of people running around selling drugs. We got a bunch of people doing things they shouldn't be doing. Let's lock up as many black men as possible, and that will fix the problem. That doesn't work. And
Well,
it,
they're not locking them up effectively anyway. Because if they're being shady on reporting these things, how many of these cases are getting thrown out of court because they didn't follow legal procedure?
Mhm.
Because the police do not care about us getting convicted. They just want to pull us over. They want to fuck with us,
Quotas.
right? They don't give a damn about what happens after that. If we go and actually serve some real time, now they'll get in camera and act like that they care, and they'll go after Kim Fox and whoever else
Mhm.
about, oh, why are these people not going to jail and all of that. But how many of these are getting thrown out because they just didn't follow any proper procedure, right? They're not reporting it correctly. They're obviously not doing the job the right way. So, they, in all honesty, and I agree with you, the most effective way is to deal with the stuff at the root cause, the
Mhm.
poverty and the education and things like that, right? But scientifically, because we don't actually get convictions because we do it the wrong way, we don't know if it'll work. Scientifically, we don't
Well,
know.
Well, black people are being are being kept imprisoned at what, 2, 3 times the rate of whites. So I think we have enough black people being arrested over the course of that period to know that it's not fixing the issue.
You're
Like
right.
if it
You're
did,
right.
these communities would be significantly safer at this point. And that's part of my issue when people try to say, well, it's about guns. We need to get these guns up off the street and then everything would be so much better because when they say that, the methods used to get these guns up off the street oftentimes just involve locking up a bunch more black people. And even a black person who has a gun illegally, they can have a gun illegally for a whole bunch of different reasons. Even in that Block Club Chicago article they talked about, there was a guy who got locked up during one of these traffic stops because his concealed carry had lapsed without him realizing it. So when the police saw the gun under his seat, after they had searched his car essentially illegally because they had no reason to do so, they went on ahead and locked him up in jail. There's a whole bunch of people that have guns illegally, either because they are poor or because they don't feel like for whatever reason the government would allow them to have a gun, but they still need it for their own personal defense. It's not because they're out here trying to harm people or trying to do anything nefarious, but they know the wolves are out there and they feel the need to have something that is going to allow them to protect themselves. So this whole movement to try to say that the issues that are happening in Chicago is about guns has nothing to do with empowering the black community. It's just another way to lock up more brothers. The people who are really interested in solving the problem are the ones who are talking about poverty. If you want to help the issues that are happening, then you need to be finding ways to empower the black community to help these people be more independent and stand on their own, not to disempower us by trying to take away one of the few ways black folks have in order to be able to defend themselves.
Well, I think we need to tell the funny story of this traffic stop, right? Not funny, it was tragic, but so basically this guy, he was driving along and he stops and sees his. So let me first say he stopped in the middle of the road. Okay, let me tell y'all how I feel about traffic. Yes, I think any of you who stop in the middle of the road need to go to jail. Yes, I do. I do. I I think not enough emphasis is placed on you people who keep stopping, and half the time there's a parking space right next to you
Yep.
or right in front of you. But and not only do you block the street, you also block off the parking space because you're sitting right next to the parking space. So,
My brothers and sisters.
and y'all are never, and I know what y'all thinking. I'm just saying a quick hi or something like that. The conversation is never as short as you think it's going to be. You always there forever and you in the way. So yes, I think you should go to jail for that. Now, let me get off my
Go to
high horse.
jail, brother. Go to jail.
Yes, yes, it's dangerous. It's dangerous just to be sitting there. Think of all those. What was that story? The UPS truck or some FedEx delivery truck was sitting there, and so the woman tried to go around on her
Mm,
bicycle and got hit
yeah,
and dragged
yeah,
her son like 50 feet or something like that.
yep.
Come on, this sitting in the road is dangerous. It blocks people. It takes time. I always got to run the risk in these tight streets of trying to get through there and make sure I don't scrape somebody, right? And scrape up my own car in the process. But I digress. He stopped, right? So once he pulls off after saying hi to his friend, right, the cops pull him over and basically they say, first you were obstructing traffic, right? And then they say they accused him of buying heroin from the guy he was talking to. That was their excuse to search his vehicle, right?
Hmm.
So, and this is why I'm an asshole because the first thing that would have came out of my mouth is, so you pulled me over for suspecting that I bought heroin, but the guy you suspected I bought the heroin from just roaming free over there. There's no mention of them stopping the guy they think sold
Uh,
him heroin.
Hell no, that's not a traffic stop.
You
Hey,
know,
ain't no money in that.
you can buy heroin all day. I mean, you can sell heroin all day, but buying it, nope. Buying it
Hmm.
from a car, nope. so,
Hmm.
so let me tell you, for anybody who ever sees me and I stop in traffic to say hi to you, if the cops pull me over and say I suspect, you better not have nothing on you. First thing I'm gonna say to the cops is, why didn't you pull the guy you think just sold me something? Why are you coming after me? Anyway, I digress. So they use that excuse to search the car. They find the gun, and then and this is where I have a problem because and like you said, it's stat padding. They're padding those stats because
Hmm.
anyone could have looked and say, okay, your FOIA card just lapsed. It's been the pandemic. We all know the pandemic made things haywire. That's probably part of the reason maybe he wasn't up on it. Should he have been up on it? Absolutely. But hey, he
But
wasn't
he's not
too
trying to keep
good.
that gun illegally. Like they knew
Yeah,
that. They just saw an opportunity. Oh, hey, quota. Cha-ching.
yeah. You could have
Come
looked
on,
at
man.
it. You could have gave him a warning. You could have told him, look, you need to get this taken care of. Instead
Mhm.
you gotta run him in, impound the car, and he's got to go through all this mess for I don't know how long, for months and months off of
Mhm.
this, and it's crazy. It's absolutely insane, and that's the biggest point here. They are not catching criminals with this, right?
No.
Because criminals talk to each other and they let each other know that hey, them cops are out here acting a fool right now, right? Guys like you and me, we don't hear about
Mhm.
that.
No.
So we get caught up on some shit that was just an honest mistake. And we do not get the discretion of an honest mistake as some of our cohorts of a lighter shade get. That's just fact.